Welcome to this BYU Idaho online course and this presentation regarding the online team experience. This presentation has been adapted with permission and certainly a lot of gratitude for use at BYU Idaho from an original work known as Virtual Team Building. This presentation was developed by Wallace Neal Napier and Lisa Hassler Waters in 2004. Any slide that does not contain the copyright acknowledgement was developed here at BYU Idaho. This is a presentation with a purpose. This presentation has been designed to assist you in developing positive working relationships with the members of your team. You've now been put in a team in your course. And learning to work in a team is a very vital and important skill, and it's a skill that you'll need not only at BYU Idaho, but after your education here is concluded. There's 4 parts to this presentation. First is an introduction to working in teams. Second will be an opportunity to get acquainted with your team members. The third presentation will focus on the development of team norms and a social contract. And then the last presentation will focus on defining roles and responsibilities of each of you as team members. Associated with each of these will be a discussion board assignment, and you'll have an opportunity in your teams to comment on various aspects of each element of this presentation. So let's get on to part 1 in the introduction. So watch and listen, if you will, to what these real BYU Idaho students have to say about working in teams in an online course. They've actually had real online course experience.
You know, when I first signed up for my online class, I remember thinking, boy, it's going to be an online class. It may be a lot easier than some of the face-to-face classes because I can do it whenever I need to. I can just be online. But what I soon realized is that it was actually required just as much, if not more effort for me to take the online class because I needed to check my email very often, and it required me to put a lot more thought into what I was typing because I knew other people would read it, and I knew it would take a lot more cognitive effort on my part.
I feel the biggest difference between being in a classroom and being in an online class is just not being able to put a face to the professor or even face to those that you're working with in a group. But I think that it can be a positive experience working in a group, and you can have those same experiences if you just work as a group to get to know each other, and that way you can get to know each other better and talk and just know personalities better, and then I feel that you can be more comfortable with your group members and sharing ideas and answering questions, asking questions.
Oh, my initial thoughts about reacting with students who were taking the same class, I remember asking myself, how am I going to do that effectively? Because all we can really use is email, and I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work. But as I started, I found that there were a few students who I interacted very well with, and we had some great conversations. We actually shared phone numbers after a while, and we started talking on the phone, and it became a very good thing.
My online learning experience was just basically just to get to know the online learning sort of thing, but then once I had him, it became more of a convenience. And working with groups, it really helps because that way I don't have to lug them around on campus. I'm able to go online and we'll be able to get our assignments done, and it's a lot more easier, I think.
There's some examples of great teams. Now, one of my favorites is the Beatles, and perhaps you've listened to some of their music over the years. But there's also great sports teams. Boise State, San Jose Sharks, Steelers, BYU, the Red Sox, the Brazilian soccer team. Everybody's got a favorite team, I would guess, of some kind, either sports or in some other aspect of life. And here's a couple of other teams that you're probably familiar with. Those of you who have had an opportunity to serve as a full-time missionary, you and your companion work as a team. You work as teams in a district. You work as teams in a zone. And certainly the First Presidency, the 3 of them work as a very solid and united team. And that's a great example for all of us when we have a team assignment. Teams usually find out early on that before they can really accomplish their goals, you have to undergo a number of processes. And a useful picture is to visualize these as rings on a target. You'll see in the middle of that target is the task or the project that you have to accomplish. Then comes this stage of getting personally acquainted. Teams get formed. Then teams have to establish norms, how you'll work together as a team. What are the rules and the regulations that will govern your work as a team? And then you've got to get organized as a team, deciding who's going to do the various tasks that the team has to accomplish. These are essential processes and ingredients to have satisfying and successful work. And working as a virtual team, even though you don't see each other face to face, it can be a very high quality experience, and you can do high quality work as a team. I might suggest that there are some recipes for satisfying and successful virtual teams, and we'll talk about some of those. But how do you think a meal might turn out if there were cooks from all over the world that had various ethnicities, various tastes, various capabilities? How might that meal be prepared? And what if they prepared these meals in separate kitchens and they had the freedom to move anywhere they wanted to within any of these kitchens? It might be a little complicated. Well, how would the meal turn out if these chefs ever or actually never saw each other? Or if they could only meet face-to-face occasionally? Or if they never met face-to-face because they were hundreds or perhaps thousands of miles apart? Well, the task of bringing people together and foods from all over the world may sound kind of intriguing, but it's a pretty daunting experience. So just like cooking a meal with cooks from all over the world and with various skills and talents, satisfying and successful virtual teamwork really depends on planning and mixing and the consistency and preparation of the team members. If one of those ingredients is missing, it really could prove to be a disastrous experience. You actually can learn to be a great team, a great online and virtual team, even if you never see each other face to face. And chances are, for those of you working in this course on these teams, you're all over the place and you won't meet your other team members face to face. This will be a virtual connection. So learning to become connected and working well as a virtual team involves 4 things. First, the recognition that working and learning online is different than being face-to-face, but it's also the same. It's different because you don't get to see each other, but it's the same in that you are dealing with other people, just like yourself. Secondly, it's really important to get to know each other on a personal basis. And we'll talk about some ways that you'll be able to do that. Third, teams need to decide on the rules and the norms of team member behavior and making a commitment to each other and even developing what we might call a social contract. And then finally, teams need to decide on the roles and the responsibilities of each team member. You can't all be doing the same work, and if your work is to be efficient and to accomplish great work, you'll each need to decide who's going to do what. So, you'll have a discussion board assignment after you view this presentation. And in this discussion board, you should share with your team members your thoughts about working in groups. What is it that you hope to learn from other team members? What do you think they might learn from you? And what can you do as a team to make sure that you work well together? What do you think makes a team great? Perhaps you've all had the opportunity to participate on a team. And what do you think are the characteristics of great teams? Now, as you go into the discussion board, make sure that you comment at least once on the posting of every team member and have a dialogue. And this will help in your beginning to get to know each other.